Hi, my name is Zachary Gillespie, and this is my TED Talk evaluation. So, I did my TED Talk on a guy named Jared Diamond. His thesis of his speech was in regards to tribes and how they treated their elderly, and how we as a society can relate back to that and use the greater concepts to help improve. As life expectancy tends to move upwards, we need to be able to adjust how we treat our elderly and how we as a human race can become better at growing older and still being useful. So he was able to capture the attention of the audience by first and foremost starting with a question asking how many people in the audience knew somebody who was over 65, as well as people who wanted to be 65 at some point in their life. And of course the answer is unanimously yes. So he just wanted to kind of get everybody involved, like, okay, this is something that we all want, so how can we reach that? He managed to maintain the engagement of the audience by using eye contact. He went from the right part of the crowd to the middle, to the left, and back to the right while he was looking at his note cards in between. He also used hand gestures, and he also had a very deep voice, so whenever he wanted to kind of emphasize something, he would kind of bring his pitch up, which I know is pretty common for most people, so it worked to an extent. You asked that we look up the 10 TED Commandments. Unfortunately, as some people are finding, the link there didn't work, but I went ahead and Googled the 10 TED Commandments, and I found a set. And you asked what did we think the speaker followed the best of those commandments and why. There's one here, it's worded in Old English, so I'll go ahead and read it. It's, "Thou shalt dream a great dream, or show forth a wondrous new thing, or share something thou hast never shared before." And I feel like that best covers what Jared Diamond was trying to get at, because he spent this time with these tribes trying to figure this out, and I don't think anybody has ever really covered that thought of what are we going to do as we get older. I mean, at first people would die off by old age and they're wearing down just from all the physical labor and sickness earlier in the 1700s. Now we have medicine, we can live longer, and this thought of how can we look back at groups that still have similar problems to those early time periods and use those concepts we have somewhat forgotten to better our people. And I think that definitely shows that dream and something that we had never really covered before in a speech. Now, you also asked us to kind of compare our speaker to Sir Ken Robinson, which I had actually watched the video before but went ahead and watched it again. Ken Robinson is an excellent speaker. He knows a lot about his subject. I am pretty sure he kind of just went off the cusp on this because he did know so much and he knew the point he wanted to get across. So he was able to use sarcastic jokes. He continued to get up and walk across the stage. It was poking fun, but yet at the same time you could see that passion and that fieriness, and it really came through that he really wanted people to believe in what he was believing in. Compared to Jared Diamond is an older man. He appeared to be in his 70s, so he was steady at a podium, which, for presidents, they do that as well, so you still have to get it across, but there wasn't a lot of energy that came from him as it did with Ken Robinson. Like I said before, he used eye contact and hand motion, but to compare the two, they both had very easily audible voices. You enjoyed listening to them, but at the same time, Ken had so much more energy than Jared did. It just became extremely obvious that Ken could grab your attention just immediately, whereas Jared, you really had to focus on what he was saying to kind of gain some interest. You then asked us to kind of judge the dynamism of between 1 and 5 of our speaker. I gave Jared a 2, because he did use some strategies to try and gain the audience's attention, but at the same time there were other things like walking around, and maybe he didn't have a single slide or image, it just the camera was constantly on him. And I've seen with other TED Talks and with Ken, when you have slides and visual things, you can draw that bridge and can relate to them and what they're seeing. I'm a very visual person. I know that just staring at a person talking can sometimes be a problem. So with something like that, where he was with these tribes, you definitely need some pictures, and maybe with him with the tribes, or kind of demonstrating what he's talking about for you to go, oh, okay, that's why you feel so strongly about it. What I learned about the delivery, based upon my presenter, was that even though he knew a lot about his subject, I mean, it's obvious he spent years and years with these tribes, he didn't really show the passion. He just kind of got up and delivered it. You know, he didn't put that emphasis, that fire that you really want to hear from somebody, that excited. You can just see that they care so much about this, and they don't want to give up on it. And he appeared to be more presenting the facts and said, you can take it however you want. Whereas with most TED Talks, you want it to have that spontaneity and that excitement, and that just wasn't there. As well as with deliveries, you definitely want to have those images, or be able to start with a story. He didn't have a story at all to back it up of one of his experiences, and you need to be able to create those mental pictures or actual pictures that can really link people together. Finally, you asked us to give a tip to our classmates for their first speech, and for me, I did 2 years of technical support sitting at a phone, so I couldn't see anybody, but I gained really strong relationships with people I worked with weekly over this course of 2 years. And I found the easiest way to relate with people is if you just treat them like their family or friends, and you're just talking to them, and you gain that trust as quickly as you can, so that you can say something and they not question it at all, and they're okay with anything as long as they know that my best interest is getting their best interest settled. So as a speaker, if you can get that off right away, anything you say, any opinion, no matter how crazy it is sometimes, can then be believed by that and will be spread throughout their group of friends or family, because they will feel so passionately about it because they saw you so engrossed in it. So that is my big thing, is you've just got to be comfortable. There's got to be enough confidence. You can't act like you're giving this speech where it's just word for word, and you start with an introduction and you go through the meat of it and then you give a conclusion. You can't do that to make it convincing. You have to actually talk to somebody, like especially online here, like you're on a webcam, you're talking one-on-one with somebody. It's the only way you can get it across. So I definitely love the TED site. I watch it from time to time anyways. I love it. So definitely enjoyed this assignment, and learned a lot just by watching how, not so much what the person is saying, but everything else, the environment, their mannerisms, eye contact, things like that. It's a great thing to move forward just for whenever the time comes to get interviews. That first impression is so key, and I think this project helps cover a lot of that. So hope you enjoyed my evaluation of this TED Talk. Thank you.